Alrighty, folks, so maybe you watched last night's debate, maybe you didn't, but I'm about to give you my final grades on the debate. This brings us to sort of my personal grades, and then we'll see how people actually did. So let's start with who got the most speaking time. The problem is too many candidates on the stage. Definitely should not have been this many candidates on the stage. So Burgum and Hutchinson took up 15 minutes of time. They shouldn't have been on the stage. Tim Scott was on stage for 8 minutes, but really was absent. So now you're talking about like 23, 24 minutes of time that really was distributed poorly. The real people who should have been on the stage are the top 5 people in terms of time: Pence, Ramaswamy, Christie, DeSantis, Haley, right? Everybody else in the stage is basically an also ran at this point. Now, we're ignoring the elephant outside the room, which of course is Trump, which may mean that all of these people are also rans. But in terms of who got the most time, Pence got the most time, which makes some sense in that he is the person who has done presidential debates before, like the most of any of these people. Vivek, because he was a lightning rod, got the second most time, followed by Christie. Christie also wanted to do some lightning rod stuff. DeSantis got the fourth amount of time. Haley actually only got 8 minutes and 41 seconds, but she made him count. So how does that stack up in terms of my personal grades? So I thought DeSantis was fine. I thought he was solid. I thought that he basically laid out his record. He stayed out of scraps. I think that his answer on Ukraine was a little bit befuddled, but I think other than that, DeSantis did okay, right? It was fine. I would grade him at like a B. I'd give Nikki Haley an A. I think she accomplished her purposes. I think she did so in a very short amount of time. I think she really surpassed expectations for nearly everybody who watched the debate. Even if you don't like Nikki, you have to see that she actually did better than you expected her to do. I'd give Tim Scott a C. He was basically not present for any of this. For Pence, I'd say you probably give him a B, but for different reasons than DeSantis. A B because he's just in an unwinnable situation. Right? He stood up for himself, I thought, actually rather well on January 6th. I thought that was worthwhile. He's not going to gain any momentum from it, and we'll get to that in a moment. And as for Christie, I would say that was like a B Christie performance. An A Christie performance, he's always going to get the punches in, but he doesn't have any of the charm that he once had in like 2011. So now he's just a punching machine. So a B is about the best he can do. As for Vivek is very hard to grade because Vivek is the total Rashomon candidate. You look at Vivek on the stage, and for me, if I'm assessing how he did based on sort of, was he telling the truth? I thought a lot of the time not. Or based on were his attacks on other candidates rooted in their actual record and what they did? No, many times. Right? Or if you're basing it on like his policy, I think he's wrong on some of his policy prescriptions. I think some of the stuff he says about foreign policy in particular is just not true or within the realm of reality. When he says, I'll start withdrawing aid from Israel because I'm going to create peace in the Middle East between like Qatar and Oman and Israel. Like Qatar and Oman are pro-Iran. Like that just betrays not a lot of knowledge about the Middle East and on his record, right? But if you are talking about like the internet culture, if you're talking about the meme culture, if you're talking about who had energy on the stage, if you're talking about the guy who is saying the things nobody else will say, which is one way that we have now learned to gauge politics, is will he say the thing no one else will? Now, I'm of the view, and I've always said this, there's a difference between being politically incorrect and saying the thing that must be said that no one else will say, and just saying the thing no one else will say. But that distinction has been completely obliterated over the course of the last 10 years, where if you just say a thing that is verboten, then this means that you are brave. By that metric, Vivek kicked ass. By that metric, Vivek did great. And this is what you see reflected. Okay, so let's look at these debate results through that light. Who has momentum coming out of this debate? Because that's really all that matters, right? 3 days from now, nobody's going to remember this debate. There's no lasting impact. But did anybody get momentum here? Did anybody get momentum? So I graded people based on whether they had like strong upward momentum in each lane, some upward momentum, same downward momentum, or like really downward momentum. So if you take a look at this chart, let's look at each of these candidates. So Ron DeSantis, again, his goal here was survive, right? Which, how this debate affects DeSantis is going to be really up to what DeSantis does next. I don't think he lost ground. I don't think he gained ground with any group. He was basically the same with every group going in as he was coming out. Does he have any momentum inside any lane? So there are two ways that you can gain momentum. There are two ways that you can gain momentum in a presidential race. One is you gain overall momentum, like national momentum, big national momentum, because you're doing great in like multiple groups. And then there is the do you have momentum inside one lane? This can actually mean a lot. So you could actually not do great in a debate, but if you really lock up a lane, you have momentum in that lane. That lane is now going to start generating some uptick in national numbers. May not be huge, but it'll be an uptick in national numbers. You can build off of that. So lane momentum is something you want coming out of the debate. In at least one of the lanes, you want momentum. Have you ever craved a nice barbecue meal with the family? Say you go to the store, get all the groceries, invite the family over. When you turn on the grill, the propane tank is empty. This has actually happened to me. It sucks. It's the worst. This is where Cinch comes in to save the day. Cinch is a propane grill tank home delivery service. They deliver propane tanks directly to your door on your schedule. They don't require any long-term commitment or subscription. Plus, delivery is completely contact-free. You don't have to wait around at home. Track the order on the Cinch app from anywhere. Whether you are grilling for dinner or camping with your family or lighting up your patio heaters on a cold night, Cinch's propane delivery service ensures you have the fuel you need to make the most of every single moment. Head on over to cinch.com or download that Cinch app and use promo code Shapiro to get your first tank exchange for just $10. That is CYNCH.com, promo code Shapiro. It's a limited time offer. You have to live within a Cinch service area to redeem it. Visit cinch.com/offer for details. That's CYNCH because it's a cinch.com, promo code Shapiro. Make sure that propane tank, the one that's empty, get it replaced easily. You don't have to think about it ever again. Go to cinch.com, promo code Shapiro, or use that Cinch app and use promo code Shapiro to get your first tank exchange for just $10. Are you tired of feeling uncomfortable in your underwear and loungewear, especially during those scorching summer months? Thanks to my friends over at Tommy John, you can have a perfect blend of comfort and breathability. When you wear Tommy John, you are so much more comfortable. You can do everything better. Their underwear has dozens of comfort innovations. We're talking breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric with 4 times the stretch of competing brands. They can keep you 7 degrees cooler than cotton. They're so good. I mean, Tommy John is the only underwear I wear. I literally took out all of the other underwear that I owned when I got Tommy John and I threw it away. Tommy John is durable. It is super comfortable. It graces this magnificent tuchus at this very moment. Tommy John also sells loungewear with a level of softness I've never felt before. Their incredibly soft loungewear is designed to envelop you in the magical world of pure luxury. Every purchase is backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or it's free guarantee. Shop Tommy John's summer collection. Get 20% off your very first purchase at TommyJohn.com/Ben. That is 20% off at TommyJohn.com/Ben. Again, that's TommyJohn.com/Ben. See site for details. Best underwear, best loungewear, bar none. Go check them out right now, TommyJohn.com/Ben to get 20% off. So lane momentum is something you want coming out of the debate. In at least one of the lanes, you want momentum. DeSantis, does he have any lane momentum? No, coming out of this debate. Can he build it? Sure. So basically, it's status quo ante for DeSantis. It's as though the debate never happened for DeSantis. For Vivek had some momentum among Trumpers. The thing about Vivek is that no one really has momentum among Trumpers because Trump has Trumpers, right? I mean, they're locked up. Among the traditional GOP, I would say that Vivek was kind of the same as before. The traditional GOP, not super fond of Vivek. Maybe he has some negative momentum from it, but certainly he's not picking up ground among sort of the traditional GOP three-legged stool crowd. With the never Trump wing of the party, he had serious negative momentum, but again, he was never going to win those people anyway. He was aiming for one lane and one lane only. That is that 15% who are Trump adjacent. He has strong momentum among those people. So that means that his upward boundary, Vivek's upward boundary in this Republican primary is probably about 15%. He's chiseling that away from DeSantis, right? So he achieved his goal, which was strong upward momentum inside that one lane, which, credit to him, he achieved that goal and he made himself more of a national name, which was his goal in this race in the first place because, once again, he is not running for president against Donald Trump. The way I know that is because Donald Trump knows he's not running for president against Donald Trump, which is why Donald Trump has not attacked him. Everyone who goes after Trump, who is perceived as a threat to Trump, is attacked. There's only one candidate in this race who is a serious candidate or perceived as a serious candidate who has not been attacked by Donald Trump, and that's Vivek. Okay, Mike Pence, he comes away with negative momentum from the Trumpers because, again, Trump doesn't like him. Among the traditional GOP, he came away with a little bit of upward momentum. He came away with some liberal wing momentum, like some never Trump momentum a little bit. But does he have like overall lane momentum? Like strong lane momentum? And the way I'm measuring lane momentum is basically, did you have a 2 in any category, right? Did you have strong momentum in any one lane? Not like minor momentum, like big momentum in any one lane. So no for Pence. He comes away basically the same as he was before. A person who I know Mike Pence. I think he's an honorable human being, an honorable person who's not going anywhere in this race. Nikki Haley, she is basically where she was beforehand with Trumpers. In the traditional GOP lane, she has strong momentum. Right? That debate was very good for Nikki Haley among the traditional GOP lane. And she could start locking up some donors. She could be seen as an alternative to Tim Scott. You could see a lot of people turning away from Scott and moving their money over to Nikki Haley, for example, or turning away from Mike Pence and moving over to Nikki Haley. I would not be surprised if Nikki Haley's campaign starts to move from 2% nationally toward that 7 or 8% nationally. If you look at Tim Scott, again, I think he ended up basically where he was beforehand. Everybody kind of likes the guy, but nobody knows why he's here. And as for Chris Christie, he has some lane momentum with the Never Trump wing, which is strong in New Hampshire. So did everybody sort of achieve their goal? The answer is yes. Is this going to make like an overall difference against Trump? The answer is absolutely not. Because when you look at the overall sort of takeaway from the race, Trump still has all the momentum with the people who love Trump. And the Trump adjacent wing, nobody is taking it away from him. In the Trump adjacent wing, if you wished, in order to beat Trump, assume he has 30% locked up, absolutely locked up. And assume there's another 40% that is playable. And right now that's splitting 20% Trump, 20% everybody else. And then there's another Trump wing that's like 20%. So this means that if you're going to stack up how to beat Trump right now, you have to assume Trump has 35% of the vote locked up. Then you have the traditional GOP wing, which he is splitting like half with the rest of the party, which means that he's already at 47%. And that's leaving aside the 20% who are Trump adjacent. So in order to beat Trump, you basically have to win all the Never Trump wing. You have to win all of the Trump adjacent wing, and you have to split the Trump GOP vote. Or you have to take all of the traditional Trump GOP vote, and you have to take like 5% of the Trump adjacent wing. Who can consolidate that? You can see why Trump has this very, very solid lead. Who exactly can consolidate that sort of math? Right now, all of these lanes are split, and Trump has a foot in at least 3 of them. Is there any other candidate who has a foot in 3 of these lanes? The answer is no. There's not a single candidate who has a foot in 3 of these lanes, except for DeSantis, which is why DeSantis is still the person who has the best shot of beating Trump in a primary, but he's going to have to show some momentum coming out of this debate. Because the math just doesn't work all that well for anybody who is not named Trump. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.